For this video, I'm going to be playing a couple of games on another one of those lists that I had highlighted in the 5 decks that you can play to get you to Master. This time around, it's the Phantom Prankster Aggressive list. All credit for the list does go to Capada. As always, there's going to be a deck code in the video description. I'm doing a lot of recording today, so hopefully my voice will hold up as well, but we're going to jump on the ladder, play a couple of games, see how this goes. And we are up against Elusives, which for whatever reason has been incredibly popular today. And there's good news and bad news to this particular matchup. The good news is it's very winnable as long as your opponent doesn't find Lifeblade. The bad news is that you probably just automatically lose if your opponent finds a Lifeblade. We've got ways to deal with Lifeblade if they draw an unbuffed version, but the minute they get to jeweled protector status, you're just not going to have a good time. And even if they play it post turn 4 when they've likely played the Wayfinder as well, that's problematic. I love Boom Crew and I really want to develop it here, but
there's always a way out.
Yeah, you need to play the Elise, because at least when they've played Conspirator, Elise threatens to trade.
From the darkness.
And so you put the onus kind of on them.
Don't want any trouble.
For the most part, we're actually okay with that, because then we can still block that with Teemo next round. And then if Teemo dies, we can actually level.
The Yordle here's with me. Now you've gone
Our Elise. So we have to make the decision, do we care more about this or more about the Conspirator? I mean, this has more burst potential later. This represents more damage now. This, however, means that they don't have any ways to block our fearsome units, and we're going to open attack next round, so we do want to get rid of this one in this particular instance. Now, they could have an elixir. Alright, they always have the elixir. It never fails. Now the good news is because this is going to level up, we can still just use Challenger to pull that out of the way. Keep our Elise from getting hit. Bad news is the way that it works, that ends up actually healing that unit, so it's not a trade the way that you would like. Now we also, if we wanted to, we could develop Prankster here to push more damage, but then at 4 they have the opportunity to play more potential blockers, but I think we're okay with that overall.
It's playtime.
If this had not healed, we might consider something else, but in this instance, we're just gonna do this. Again, this can't block our fearsome units without buffing anyway, and if they have, well, that's actually interesting. If they have a twin discipline, they can buff this and block our release, and that's really problematic. So there's an argument to be made about whether or not you actually still want to just sacrifice this here. Now I think we want to make them use it. This is a risk-reward play, so yeah, here it is. They're going to do this and then jump in front of the Elise, but they've spent all of their mana. They've now spent 2 of their buff cards in the deck. They're going to lose most of their board. I think that this is ultimately the right call, but it is pretty tough. Part of the reason that you kind of want to do that there as well is simply by making them use it now, that's one less big attack buff on a Lifeblade later. Alright, this turn is all about Cask Salesman. So there's the Lifeblade. And I take it back. I said this turn was all about Cask Salesman, but now it's all about seeing if they have another elixir. But now we have to decide, is the Glimpse more important to get rid of? We really want to develop Boom Crew as a source of additional damage. This is very, very good. This represents 4 damage to our opponent. This is more card draw, but we have to get rid of this. So it's just a matter of what do we want to get rid of. It's so hard getting rid of this, but I think that this is the potential best play here. These represent just additional damage. All right, so they did not have another elixir.
Walk softly, strike quickly.
We go with the salesman. We're gonna take 2, but they take 4. Now they can play another blocker, but we can potentially push a guaranteed 2 damage with this, so
Watch your branches. Something for the road.
and we'll also just develop another prankster, because that puts even more pressure on them, which is all that matters.
You call that sneaky?
Looking for this?
So we're gonna push a total of 6 here.
Better run.
We're gonna lose everything but our boom crew.
Worthless.
So again, our biggest concern, our biggest threat here is lifesteal, though this now is beautiful, so we can just wait, because if they spend enough mana
My life.
and we don't have to worry about deny, then this is a nice auto win, and then this potentially dying to a Zed is also enough triggers, and they realize it and they surrender. So we had a number of answers there. They had the life-stealing Kinku, but we were able to dodge it. Again, you will sometimes just auto-lose that if they get a buffed version. I don't want to sugarcoat it. If they get a double buffed one post Wayfinder because of Omen Hawks, or if they get to Jeweled Protector the Kinku and they get, you know, a 5/5 lifesteal unit, you probably just lose. Outside of that, it's a very winnable matchup. So, you know, play aggressive, play with confidence. That being said, we're going to jump into another game because I've been doing 2 games per video with these, so let's get to it. Alright, so going into game 2 here, we are paired up against what is likely the mono Shadow Isles list that also features Piltover and Zaun, so a couple of different variants of that version. Some run Thermogenic Beam along with Mystic Shot. I've seen a couple of others run other cards, but for the most part it's just going to be mono Shadow Isles. So in this matchup you're
What's that noise?
just trying to push enough damage early on so that when you hit later in the game you can take advantage of your Prankster mages.
I must get out of here.
But unfortunately for us, we just don't have a lot of options even after mulliganing. That's concerning. We do find a Prankster mage, so we'll happily take that. Very curious to see them passing so much. They might have a bricked hand as well, or they might just be a bit more late game focused. They're just going to hit us with the box, which is not a card I was expecting to see. So, okay, we've got to be prepared for a little bit of anything at this particular point. Another progress day. So I guess the good news is even though our hand is bricked, we're gonna have a lot of ways to dig. That's essentially the only good news.
No.
Alright, so we're just gonna go ahead and mark this. And we're gonna try to keep our cask salesman alive, I think. Again, our hand isn't great. Normally I would actually just let this go and be happy with the trade, but I really feel like at the moment with our hand being as bricked as it is, we need to do something. And they're just gonna Mystic Shot us back. Okay, well. overall, things are not looking very good for us. Elise is a good pickup here, mostly because we're going to bank this 3 spell mana and then try to play a Progress Day next turn anyway. Now, this might be like a Thermogenic Beam. Oh, they're just going to Vile Feast again. I'm okay with that. The spiders can't block Elise, so as long as they pass here, we can go with an open attack and push a little bit. Again, we don't want to risk a Mark of the Isles, so there's no point in trying to trade there. Now, if they have a mark, then they can still block and use it, but we're hoping that they don't. Alright, we're actually going to use our Progress Day here because if we find... Alright, we didn't, but if we had found another Mystic Shot, denying them the card draw there would have been enticing. Instead, we just find more Progress Days. Traditionally, I don't have this kind of a problem. This is actually a bit of a rarity with this deck where you find all 3 of them. So this, we're gonna see if we can fight through adversity here. This is gonna be a nice test case scenario for us. Prankster is a good pickup. Hecarim is obviously not what you want to see, and it's certainly the sort of thing that we wanted to have our opponent much lower by now. There's a strong case to be made about maybe just playing another Progress Day and then trying to set ourselves up for lethal next turn, but at 13 health, I'm still actually struggling to see how that's possible, so... We're gonna play this and see if that puts them off of maybe attacking with Elise. And it does. Okay, so we save ourselves a little bit of damage. Oh no, they're just baiting me by putting the Hecarim first. Oh, well. That's 10, 12, a single mark is enough to kill us, so we're gonna block here. And then a single mark would only put us at 1. So they would need double Mark of the Isles here. But again, like, I think this is our only real path to potential victory. We're trying to get to a position where we can deal enough damage on our attack turn that we can then on their turn burn them the rest of the way. I don't see this as being an actual possibility, but you always play to your outs. So we're gonna see what we can do here.
Another day in the field.
Teemo is maybe 1 extra damage. Say maybe because here comes the Mystic Shot. We can just go ahead and mark it. So there's 4. It'll be 5 when it dies. It gets him down to 8, so we need to find 3 more damage. If this dies this turn, we need to find 2 more damage. So we're gonna use our cheap Progress Day, just because that also leaves us with the most.
Of course I'm ready.
So there's the Boom Crew. So we're gonna attack. And again, we're just trying to get them low enough that we can hopefully finish them off when it comes back to their turn, so maximizing the amount of damage that we can do is very, very key. The other thing we're really worried about is Atrocity. If they have an Atrocity, we just lose. There's nothing we can do about it. Hecarim is too big for us to kill it, and it's exactly 4.
Better run.
But I think if they had an Atrocity, they would have already tried it, so.
More mushrooms.
It's down to 6, now 5. That's exactly where we wanted them to be.
So many years, so much misery.
That's a Chronicler. Just for extra insurance here, I think you do still play this.
First one's
Because then that means either one of these resolving next turn will get the job done. We'll go down to 2. Oh, they've got the spear. Okay, well. I was about to say they were going to go down to 1, but instead they go down to 3. Nonetheless,
Just wanted to play.
still entirely worth it.
no refund.
And once again, really, all we're worried about is them top decking Atrocity. If they had it last turn, I think they would have went for it, but...
It's a bite.
Now we just say, alright, hey, we have Get Excited. Do you have the answer? And they do not. So, despite the awkward start, the powerful plays from our opponent, we managed to steal the win. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps.